to make sure they got my invitations here.
I have like a video call from Amanda that just popped up in this little chat bubble. I wonder if she's trying to call me to figure it out.
Do you want to accept it and see if it goes through? And then I'll see if I can get Colleen and Erin as well.
Let's see, I exited out of it.
Okay. I'm going to Facebook them with the link as well.
Okay.
New link. Hi, everybody. If you're just logging on to our Hangout on Air, we have Amanda and Stephanie, and we're just trying to gather Colleen and Erin. Just a second here while we figure out this process. Okay. Thank you so much for being with us, Amanda and Stephanie. I really appreciate it. Do you have busy days today? Amanda, I know you have a meeting.
Yeah, and we're going to press on Monday, so we're all going to...
Okay, Colleen's calling me now.
Okay.
Accept.
It's open.
Hi.
Right.
Okay.
No, you didn't. You're in a different thing with me right now. Okay. It was just like a little icon that popped up in my Google Mail that was like, Superstion Review is calling you, and then I hit accept. Okay. All right. Bye.
Okay, let me try her one more time.
Okay.
I think she has 2 profiles, so let me make sure I grab the correct profile for her.
Oh, technology.
Yeah, see, these are all important skills.
Yeah.
They definitely are.
So, and let me make sure I have Erin's as well. There we go. Okay, hopefully that one goes through. So you're going to press on
Monday, yeah, so it's
crunch
a little
time.
nutty, but
I bet.
it is. It always is, so. Right, Stephanie?
Yeah.
You've seen those deadlines firsthand, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the last minute stuff coming together.
Indeed. Let's see.
Did you find somebody else to write that article, Amanda?
Yeah, Kia's actually writing it.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So
I miss her.
Yeah. Oh,
There's
hey, Colleen.
There she is.
Oh man, that was rough.
Okay,
I miss her, yay!
Oh my god, no way.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. So we have everybody.
Oh, wait.
All right. Thank you. Oh, Erin dropped off, but we'll get her back soon. Thank you all for being here for this job skills seminar. What inspired this seminar was I was having a conversation with a student who was looking for summer work, and she was going to go to the mall. And I said, gosh, you know, I would love so much if you'd be able to get a job that gave you some job skills that will really help you stand above others in interviews in your field. And so I thought, because the 4 of you have so successfully transitioned into your fields, I thought it would be wonderful to share your expertise and advice with my students. So hopefully some of them are watching. We've gotten some questions in advance. I'll introduce you each one by one, starting with Amanda. actually, on my screen, you're in alphabetical order. So Amanda, Colleen, Erin, and Stephanie. So we'll go that way. And then if we have any questions come up, I'll have you talk for a few minutes and then answer any questions that come up in the Google On Air. So let me start by introducing Amanda Harvey. Amanda is the associate editor of Green Living Magazine, a local eco-conscious lifestyle publication based in Scottsdale and distributed throughout the state. If you haven't seen it, it's beautiful. I just really admire the work that you do. She graduated from ASU in 2013 with her BA in English Literature, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about job skills.
All right, so can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Green Living Magazine, as you mentioned, we're a local eco-conscious lifestyle magazine. We've been around for 5 years now. We're located in Scottsdale and distributed throughout the whole state of Arizona. So we do feature things happening in Tucson as well as northern Arizona. And we publish monthly, so it's always we're always on some kind of deadline. So definitely time management skills, things like that you do learn in college, and doing all that last minute work really does come into play, at least in my job now, being able to work on a close deadline and get things done in a very timely manner. So I've been with the magazine for over a year now, which is exciting. I actually started writing for the magazine when I was working at a previous job. Once I graduated from ASU in 2013, I applied. I was going on Craigslist and just looking in the writing and editing sections, and there isn't really a whole lot there. It was like 15 listings that hadn't been updated in 3 months or something. So it is limited from my experience anyway. Hopefully there's more in there now. I did find a publishing job that way, and there really wasn't a whole lot of information because it's Craigslist. It just said it was like a local publishing company based in Fountain Hills. So I applied. I got the interview. I went there. It was actually the only interview that I had, which was very rare from what I've heard from other, job applicants and everything. So I accepted the position. I was really excited to start working at a magazine fresh out of college. It was a technical publishing company, and they have 7 magazines that are either monthly or quarterly. They have different schedules, and I was writing for a military publication and for an embedded computing technology publication, and it was very, very dry, and it was very difficult for me to jump into that from, writing English literature papers and things of that nature. But it was a really great experience, and I don't regret it at all. So my advice to people looking for that first publishing job or something right out of college or while you're still in college, because it actually started with a 3-month paid internship, which would be great for someone that's graduating in a couple months and wants to start that and then hopefully get the full-time position once they graduate. So I know other places do that as well. Even though the subject matter was not what I was interested in by any means, and I even had some really hard days where I would, cry after I would try and copy edit this article that I didn't know what it was talking about, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, this is not what I want to do. But it taught me all the same necessary skills that I would use anywhere at any type of publishing job. So I don't regret it by any means. I worked there for 1.5 years, almost 2 years, and it definitely taught me so much just about the editorial process, and it made my transition over to Green Living that much easier, because I already had all those skills, and I use those same exact skills now, just in a different way, with a different subject matter, but still the same thing with the deadlines and using the different programs like Dropbox and databases, and learning how to copy edit on the page on PDFs, learning how to edit PDFs and make changes with your designer, and have that really close relationship and use Photoshop for things, even though I had no really Photoshop skills that I had learned in college, because I didn't think I would need them. We have graphic designers for that, but they're not always around. So I've definitely been able to do those kinds of things on my own, and I think that makes you more valuable to an employer as well, when you're like, hey, I can do all the editing, but I could also make this really cool flyer. And I know that you teach that in at Superstion Review, Trish, and I think that that's super important to be able to have those other skills. You can't just be like a one-trick pony. You can't be like, oh, I can write and edit, but I don't know HTML. I don't know how to open up a program in Photoshop. I don't even know how to resize an image. I mean, those are like really basic things that just really come in handy that I use almost every single day. Even being an editor of a magazine, I don't do editorial 24/7. I do a lot of other things. So I think those other skills definitely help. So any opportunity you have to improve those other skills, not just your writing and editing, but also those other database skills and Excel skills. I mean, I've learned a lot with Excel, and I wish I knew more. Different formulas that make things easier to manage a database, and delete those duplicate emails that you have on your database sheet, and people that you have that you meet at events and things like that, and scanning business cards that where you meet people at networking events and putting those into a database, and then using those later for possible advertising contacts and all that good stuff that just comes with working in publishing that you wouldn't maybe think about right off the bat when you're like, I'm an editor. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of it, I guess. If there's anything else you want me to add or anything.
Let me see if we've had any questions. I'm going to just tap over to our seminar area. No, we haven't had any specific questions yet. I think
I can attest that Amanda is like amazing. She does everything, like everything. So her day is always so busy, and she is picking up pieces everywhere. Just so like in her position, she's got to be able to do everything. Yeah.
And I can attest that our interns, like Stephanie was an intern here, are amazing because you guys do everything as well. So I think doing internships is huge. My only internship was with Superstion Review, and it taught me so much, a lot more than my classes taught me, with actual real world applications, not just writing 10-page papers about whomever. It definitely gave me a lot more hands-on skills at SR, and I think that doing internships like with Green Living and other local magazines and anything else you can do really does give you that real world perspective. And yeah, I know Stephanie had to do a bunch of different stuff. She wasn't just writing articles, she was like doing so many other things too during her time here. So I can definitely attest that internships, whether at Green Living or other magazines or other publications, if that's what you want to get into, are crucial. And we do have openings for the summer. If you want to email me, we do have that available. So yeah.
And that's a perfect segue. I'll certainly send some students your way to apply for your internships. You do a wonderful job of mentoring students, and one of my takeaways from your talk is we're in an industry now where people need to have a broad range of skills, right? Mm-hmm. So you really are more marketable if you can do it all and if you can pick it up quickly. So even though I only have, say, 2 semesters with students, say I have them for 8 months, the ability to give them do you think it's better to have me give them experience in 5 different things, so try to get them up and running on Adobe and Excel and learning more skills, a long list of skills rather than specializing in one thing?
Yeah, that's why I think that your intro class is so good, because it exposes everyone to all those different areas. Like I remember we had to make a flyer, and we had to work on some advertising pitch, or we had to do questions for an interview. Like all those different things in your intro class, I think that's all crucial. And then being able to move and become specialized, because you obviously don't want to just dabble in everything. You want to have a specialty and then also be able to do those other things too, or have 3 or 4 specialties if you're awesome. So
if you're awesome.
Everybody here is awesome.
Yes, they are. Okay, well, wonderful. About the 15-minute mark, so Amanda, I'm going to move on to Colleen and let her talk for a little bit. I know you have to get to a meeting with your busy day and a new issue coming up very quickly. Thank you so much for being with us, and I will definitely share your link about internships with this.
Cool, awesome. Thank you guys, and everybody here is awesome, and I'll talk to you guys all later. Have a great day.
Okay, you too, man. Take care. So next I'm going to introduce Colleen Stinchcombe. I've never said your last name out loud to you, I don't think. Am I saying it right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, good. So Colleen is a writer and editor for SheKnows.com, and she graduated in 2013 with a BA in creative writing fiction. Colleen, thank you so much for joining with us today.
Totally. I'm excited to be here. So I particularly took interest to the idea of things you can do during the summer because, so a little background, I graduated. Before I graduated, I started applying to jobs online. I did the same thing as Amanda. I went on Craigslist mostly, also checked out some other job boards. Writing and editing jobs are super scarce, in Phoenix in particular, as far as things that look on paper like exactly the thing that you want to be doing. I ended up finding a job well, I found a few jobs, and most of them were more geared around SEO. And I ended up choosing one that was a video marketing position, and the site itself was actually being a content manager for 3 websites that were about cancer, which is not the most exciting thing. It was pretty heartbreaking, but through that I got the opportunity to create editorial calendars, which I'd never done before really, do video interviews with doctors and patients and things like that, using Skype, video recording, lots of things that I had sort of dabbled in the past but never had done officially. So from there I met a girl who was sort of done with her position there and moved on to where I work now, which is SheKnows. And when she moved over, I sort of just harassed her until she could put in a good word for me, and ended up getting a position here as an editor. My first position here was as a sponsored content editor, which again is sort of marketing as well as editorial, and then went from there to also edit the pets channel, and now I am an editor for our community section. But as far as jobs that you can do during the summer, in college I was a server. That was it. My only internship was Superstion review, and I guess I'm a little bit counter here in the sense that I don't necessarily think it's counterintuitive to do those things, because what I think is important is that whatever job that you're doing, you are learning skills as long as you know how to translate them to a resume. I do think it's really valuable that whatever interests you, so say you want to be writing, whether that's creative writing or just writing that pays you, which is so often different, to be pursuing those even if they're not necessarily a job position. So whether it's starting a blog or in Superstion Review I got to run the Twitter, and I ended up talking to all of these people and joining a community that I didn't really know was there, and still my Twitter feed is a bunch of people who I met through interacting there. And so as far as like internships or jobs you can do during the summer, my biggest advice is like look for freelance opportunities. If your goal is to get paid for your writing, it's very, very difficult to find a position that is going to say you can come in for 3 months, you're going to write and do this exact thing that you want to do, and then move on. Instead, if you're really wanting to write and get paid for your writing, I would say look at places like, I'm forgetting some of the names of them, but they're all like Upwork, something like that. There's like all of these different freelance websites you can go to. You can start pitching websites like SheKnows. You can start pitching, which is where I work. You can pitch plenty of other places. And the more bylines you get, if what you want to be as a writer, that's going to be really important in getting your name out there. Even if you're doing it for free for a little while. And if you want to make money, they don't necessarily have to be the same thing. You can go into marketing, you can go into SEO, you can do all of these other things that will build your skills. And even if it's not exactly the editorial position you want right off the bat.
That's wonderful, Colleen. I took a few notes here. I really love your idea of pitching stories. So, and I also like the grounding reality that any job that you get gives you job skills. So when I'm thinking about building a resume, when I'm thinking about jobs that you can do during college or during the summer and yet still build a resume, maybe something that some of my students can think about is pitching freelance writing work, especially for creative writers too. Building a set of bylines. How important was that to you when you went to get some of your jobs?
So I didn't have any bylines when I went to go get jobs, mostly. I think I'd written for the review, which I had gotten to know through you. And that honestly might have been it. I think that my first job, what they were really looking at was my Twitter experience. And the reality, I think, is that a lot of us actually have a lot of skills that used to be something you had to learn. So, for example, the ability to work in a CMS. I, as a 12-year-old, was messing around with content management systems. So yeah, you learn a lot of things just by your own interest. And those are the things that you might think, well, that's not necessarily a professional skill. I didn't technically train in this. But you'd be surprised how many things you actually already know how to do.
Good. Now, do you have any advice as to maybe how students can curate or organize those skills so that they have a resume that is more attractive to an employer?
Yeah, so there are actually two things. One is that it's okay if it sounds awesome and you feel a little bit, you don't want to lie, you never want to lie. Mm-hmm. But it's okay if it sounds really awesome on paper and you're like, wow, I don't know if I'm that great. Like, I don't know if I really am perfect at Excel, or I don't know if I would say that Excel is a top skill, but I do know how to open it and I know how to do some things functionally, and I definitely know how to Google it later. I'm willing to learn. And I think that's the biggest thing, is expect that you are going to need to learn at your job. If you didn't need to learn, you would be super bored. And in looking for jobs, I would also say, Sheryl Sandberg has a thing in her book, Lean In, about men apply for jobs when they're 60% qualified and women wait till they're 100% qualified. When I was looking for jobs, I definitely looked for jobs that I was only 60% qualified for, where I was like, I really think I could do this. I know that I could Google it. I know that I could learn. I know that I could ask the right questions and end up doing a really good job, even though I'm not going to be able to walk in and be the perfect person for the job the first day.
Can you tell me what that then looks like in, thank you so much for sharing that statistic, because I think that's really helpful, and I hope that you know, you can still apply for things even though 40% may be a little off. But can you talk a little bit about what that looks like then in a job?
As far as what it looks like when you're learning?
Job interviews. So those.
Oh. Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. Yeah, just a little. Were you asking in a job interview how you talk about those things?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So how?
So in job interviews, I think it's really about your enthusiasm. Sorry, I think we're both interrupting each other here.
Oh no, where'd she go?
Well, her picture's back.
Oh. Yeah, I see your picture. I don't hear her at all.
Uh-oh. She's frozen.
Why don't you just say what you were gonna say?
Okay. I was just gonna say that in job interviews, I think it's really about communicating your excitement and whatever knowledge you do have. So, you know, if you have more to learn, I think it's okay to say, I have more to learn here, but here's what I know and here's what excites me and what interests me about this particular topic. So, you know, hopefully you're applying to jobs that you have some kind of interest in. You don't, it's really hard to go into a job where you're like, I'm going to hate every day of this, but I need a paycheck. But if you can walk into a job where you can look at it and say, it's content management for a cancer website and there's going to be valuable skills there, then you can talk about, you know, I'm a writer and that's really what I love to do, and I love diversifying my, you know, the types of writing that I'm doing. I love researching. I love learning about new topics. Whatever it is, you can find a way to say there's something valuable here for me and I'm willing to learn and, you know, explore more about what there is. When I came over to SheKnows, I felt like I have no background in a women's lifestyle website. I have zero background, but I read a crap ton of them and I love them and I find them really interesting, and I know that I can write, or I know that I can work with writers and I know how to edit. Whatever it is that you feel somewhat confident about, you emphasize that, and you emphasize your willingness to learn and explore the other things that you don't have 100% down.
How did your friend get the job at SheKnows? What was her in?
She had more of a background in, she had done an internship with a place called Fab Over 50, which was essentially a women's lifestyle website for women over 50. And so she had more of the editorial background, and I in part got in because of her confidence in me, because we had worked so closely. I think that's also really important, is one, making friends who will really advocate for you, but also I think we have this idea that you're going to go out in the world and everyone is going to be better at things than you because you haven't done them before. Like somehow every other editor out there just knows how to edit better than you do. And they have more experience, and with experience comes like a better craft. But they're not like special snowflakes. Like, you know, if you're a writer, if you edit your own work, all of these are things that you're improving on anyway, and I think it's really dangerous to think about other people as like, oh my gosh, they're so much farther beyond me, and like I worship at their feet kind of thing, which is how I felt. I felt like no one will ever hire me for this because I don't have experience, I haven't done it for 10 years already, like what do I have to offer? But the truth was that in working with my friend, I realized we had a similar editing ability, even though she had on paper more skills than I did. Awkwardly waiting for Trish.
Yeah. Oh, Stephanie, are you frozen as well?
Oh, no, she's just muted.
Oh, okay.
No,
She's
you were
Am I
just
frozen?
muted.
I was just muted, so I wasn't making it.
Okay. Oh,
That's
so
all.
she's trying to come back in.
Hey guys, so
Oh no, whoever was talking, we lost.
Yes.
Is she coming back?
It looks like it.
It was Jess. I was glad to see her.
I know.
can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay, hey, sorry again. So I don't know how much of that you heard, but I'm Jess, student editor-in-chief, so I'm going to log in here for Trish since she's completely frozen. Yes. Okay, hey, sorry again. So I don't know how much of that you heard, but I'm Jess, student editor-in-chief, so I'm going to log in here for Trish since she's completely frozen.
Why did the audio play back?
Not a clue.
Okay.
So anyway, Erin, if you want to go ahead and start, and then I'm going to log back out. So you just have the next 15 minutes, and we'll be posting questions at you. All right. Good luck, Erin. Anyway, Erin, if you want to go.
That was weird. Did you hear that, Erin?
No.
Okay, she's just logging in because Trish is totally frozen.
Okay.
And she said, you go ahead, you've got the next 15 minutes, and they're going to be posting
Gotcha.
questions on the thing.
Cool. Okay. Great. Hi everyone. I'm Erin. I work in marketing and digital fundraising at Make-A-Wish America, which is kind of like Make-A-Wish corporate. There's a lot of different chapters throughout the country, but I work at the national office here in Phoenix. Here I manage our organization's email program. I'll get into that a little more later. I graduated in May of 2015 with degrees in literature and digital journalism. So I first started working at Make-A-Wish almost 2 years ago as an intern. I got a summer internship and was actually referred here by a former editor at Superstion Review. So that was lovely, and I worked full-time here during the summer before my senior year. And that was really my first experience in this kind of environment. I had worked for Superstion Review, obviously, and a few other smaller publications. Again, it was mostly editorial work. So this was a big change, but I surprisingly found that a lot of my skills and experience actually were relevant here, and I was able to develop those. So I continued on as a contractor working in marketing and creative services, and I did that throughout my last year of college. And then I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I graduated. And I had been exploring some, other opportunities and searching online for other positions. And then there was an opening in fundraising here. So I thought, okay, well, I'll apply for that. It was the position I'm in now. And I applied, and then I went to Europe. And I was like, I'm just going to worry about this when I get back from Europe. And while I was there, I got an offer for this position and accepted. So it was great. It was kind of similar situation to Amanda, where that was really my one and only interview following graduation, but it worked out, and it was a position that I was really excited about. So kind of the nitty gritty of that, I do a lot of content production still in this role. Again, it's working in digital fundraising at a nonprofit, which is totally not my background and not at all what I expected to be doing. But there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of creative work, copywriting, and some graphic design. Also, I mean, really, I'm able to strategize campaigns and do some higher level stuff that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but that I found that I really enjoy. Another huge part of this role is HTML, which I came in having about like 1 or 2 days of HTML experience. Like I really had no idea, and I've learned so much in this role, and it was something that I was a little insecure about coming into it, and I think this is kind of echoing what others have said, but they asked, well, how comfortable are you with HTML in the interview? And I said, I've had a little bit of experience, but I'm really anxious to learn more about that, and I'm really excited about that. And so I came in without knowing much, and I taught myself and found that I actually really love it. So I think that's just a good lesson in kind of accepting the things that you don't know, and again, expressing a willingness to learn. And I mean, this was something that I totally didn't anticipate doing or enjoying, but I think it's something that I'm gonna look for in future positions. So what else? Yeah, I would also say that it's really valuable, I think, and other, people value it in interviews, and then once you get into a position, is expressing your interests, honestly, and highlighting your skills. I know that the position that I'm currently in, the girl who was doing this before me, she didn't have a strong writing or creative background, so mostly she her role was more focused on deploying emails and then data and reporting. And I expressed that that was not really my background. My background was in copywriting and creative work. And really, we've been able to tailor the position to be that, which I know might not be true of every organization or every position, but it's, I think, worth expressing those desires, and they may be met, and I think that's really how you provide the most value. There are questions that...
Yeah, hi, I'm back. Sorry about that. Oh, look, I got some folks. Got the rest of the crew with me here. Thank you so much, Erin. And I did miss a little bit of what you said, but I wanted to riff a little bit on what you said about expressing interest in wanting to learn something and how important that is. And I'm also curious to know what percentage of what you do involves training, like having to be trained on a new skill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot. I mean, when I came in, there were definitely many things about this position that I did not have experience in. Again, I mentioned HTML. Again, there was also a lot of data that is not at all like in my comfort zone, or I didn't have a lot of experience with that. And I don't know that it's true with every organization, but again, since I'm work at a nonprofit, you know, it's a pretty lean team, and so it was kind of on me to train myself in some of those areas. So it was a lot of, I mean, there's resources like lynda.com and stuff. I found that super helpful, especially for HTML. You know, just spend a couple days and like you will learn so much just by watching a video. I mean, it's really crazy. So it was a lot of me kind of pushing myself, but I think that also, like, I was then more invested in my learning, and I think I was able to kind of surprise my supervisor and my team when I was able to, like, produce something that they hadn't necessarily taught me. You know, I like, my first month or so there, after I had kind of familiarized myself a little more with HTML, I redesigned our email template and just brought it to them. It was a side project that I was working on myself. And I think, you know, investing your own time in something like that is, you know, that goes a long way with the people you're working with. So.
That makes me think about one of the comments I love to make in job interviews, or not job interviews, but when I'm being a reference for people. And I love being a reference. I'm always willing to do so. So I have a lot of people call me and say, what would you say about this person? One of my favorite comments to make is, this person does the work of 3 people. And it sounds a little bit like that's what you're offering in the workplace, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lean team. And again, but I would say, you know, I really love that. I love being very busy. So, you know, the nonprofit world, again, it's not something I had really considered before, but there's a lot of opportunity to kind of wear a lot of hats and try a lot of different things at a nonprofit. So, you know, I would say it's worth a go, and you can explore and then kind of, you know, find your direction maybe.
So I have another question for you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh my gosh. I still have like dreams of doing something a little more editorial, working at a publication. Again, in the past year or so, since I've started working full-time, I've become a little more interested in design, and like digital design, again with the HTML coding. So I'm open. I don't know if I'm gonna stay in like the nonprofit world. There's a lot of passion here and a lot of opportunity, so like that is tempting for sure. But I might want to try something again a little bit more editorial.
Okay, good. Do you mind if I hop back and ask Colleen that too?
Oh yeah.
Colleen, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
honestly, I probably see myself taking more of a freelance track. I'm really into the idea of diversifying your income. So rather than having one position that pays all of your bills, having sort of several sources that are keeping you fed. So I think that's, 5 years down the line, that might be, especially since I've had the opportunity to build a lot of bylines and a lot of connections in the position that I'm in, it makes it a little bit easier.
That's a good point. Let me ask you this: so building the bylines? I know you do a newsletter. Are you doing that in other ways too? Are you using other tools to help you do that?
A newsletter or bylines?
Bylines.
Mostly I'm just writing for SheKnows. One of the things that happens when you are an editor at a magazine is you often are contractually required to, as far as when you're staying in the space of women's lifestyle, you're contractually required to only write for that site. Mm-hmm. So, but I wrote for example, for Amanda, I wrote a couple of articles for Green Living, and I'm always open to writing things that are not competitors for SheKnows. So it's just a matter of sort of finding, what you have to say and then going out and sending emails and making connections. And I do find that social media is a really great place to start talking to people casually so that they know who you are. And then when you do have an idea that you think fits with whatever they're doing, it's a lot easier to sort of open that door.
Okay, that's great. I can't tell if I'm muted or not. That's great advice. So, have you ever used Contently to gather all that online or some other service?
Yeah, I definitely have a Contently. The only Contently has its ups and its downs, which is that when you first put it in, it compiles everything, but then it doesn't necessarily consistently update depending on where you're writing for. But yeah, that's a really great resource. Also, what I see a lot of people doing now is, for example, I follow Anne Friedman is one of my favorite journalists. What she'll do is she'll have a list of maybe her 5 favorite articles that she's written for a particular publication, and then she'll also put a link to her author bio. So there's always an opportunity to find more. And so you can sort of point out, these are the 5 things that if you're going to look at what I write, I want you to look at these. I have my own website. Things like that are really great resources.
Okay, great. So it's about 11:45. I'm going to move to Stephanie next. So let's start with your bio, Stephanie. Stephanie works as a storyteller for China Mist Iced Tea, which basically entails blogging and social media management. She also does some technical editing and content writing for a small home builder, Bellagio Development. She graduated from ESU in 2015 with a BA in creative writing with an emphasis in fiction. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Trish. I gotta say, it feels really weird to be doing this because I still kind of feel like I'm derping around. But maybe you kind of feel that way, maybe that makes you feel better. I'll share a little bit of my story, how this all kind of went down for me. I graduated with little idea of where to go or what to do. I did a lot on Craigslist looking for jobs. I didn't find very much luck there. In the meantime, I did some freelance editing, I guess, for I edited some med school applications for friends and friends of friends. People, told their friends, and then they sent me their application essays, and I edited those. And I didn't charge very much for them, but I feel like I did a good job, and it felt good to do something, I guess. I sat down and talked with a couple people that I knew through other people that I knew worked sort of writing jobs. I got Chick-fil-A with this lady who lives in my in-laws neighborhood who's a copywriter, and I got coffee with a dude that used to work at the Phoenix Business Journal, and that was kind of helpful. It didn't lead to anything exactly, but it was good to talk to them about what they do, I guess. And then I also joined 4 Chambers Press and started reading submissions. That's not a paid thing, but I still do that actually, and I really enjoy that. So job hunting was not going super great. I was going crazy. I needed something to do, and so I applied for an internship at Green Living magazine with Amanda. It's an unpaid internship, but I just wanted to be doing something, and it turned out to be a super awesome experience. I got to write articles that actually ended up in the magazine, and that means I got experience interviewing people and transcribing interviews and actually writing something and getting bylines, which feels really, really good. I also wrote plenty of social media copy, even though the social media for the magazine is pretty streamlined because they just have so much content to share. It's not so much of like creating a content calendar for them so much, because you're just following the content that's in the magazine, but it was still really valuable to do. I also learned basic HTML. I'm definitely not as proficient as Erin is, but I got to do a little bit there and got to put together newsletters and email blasts. That was really valuable, and I still use some of that in my blogging and helping to, like, reformat stuff. And it was a lot of going to events, a lot of talking to people, a lot of hearing people's awesome stories, and it was just kind of like an inspiring space to be in for a while, and I found it really valuable. So some months into that, I got a message from Trish, and she connected me to John Martinson, who is a former student of hers. He was looking for a part-time social media person for his company, China Mist Iced Tea. He was looking for somebody who was a writer and who had kind of an interest in sustainability, which, duh, it was me, right? John, the owner of China Mist, he had recently gone back to school, and he took Trish's blogging class. He also interned for Superstion Review, which is interesting. And then he got his executive master in sustainability leadership, I think is what it's called. And that's like a master's program for professionals who are looking to like take their companies in a sustainable direction, and that's what he is about. And side note, John is actually also friends with Dory Morales, who is the publisher of Green Living magazine, which is, a connection there, which certainly didn't hurt. So I got in touch with him. I went in for an interview. It was kind of funny because I handed them my resume. The president of the company was like, "Oh, I just love looking at people's resumes who are just fresh out of college. There's like nothing on here." I was like, "Oh, thanks, yeah." But one of the things they also said was like, "I think you're perfect for this job because you have a background in creative writing. That's exactly what we're looking for." And they offered me the job on the spot, and I took it on the spot. So I was kind of charmed the way that happened. And after I got the job, I was informed that my title would be storyteller. And that title is kind of a cutesy way of just saying I'm a marketer. That's really what I am. But sort of the whimsy, I guess, in that title has sort of given me a sense of purpose beyond just being like a content creator or like a social media manager. Anyway, and also on the side, so I'm doing that part-time, and also part-time I'm doing some work for my father-in-law. He owns a small company. He's a home developer, and they have a lot of documents that need editing, kind of legal-ish sort of technical editing stuff. And their website copy does need a lot of help. They just have this guy that manages their website, and this guy's not a writer. And then a lot of the copy is written by my father-in-law himself, also not a writer. It's really bad. So I'm helping out there. It's kind of just like as a favor to family and for the money too. But I think it's also relevant to like experience that I should be gaining and want to be gaining. So that's where I'm at now. So I've got a couple things happening simultaneously. I work from home for China Mist. I can work from home for my father-in-law, but I go into the office just because, I don't know, it helps me focus, I guess, a little bit more. So my day is varied. My tasks are varied. Basically, in both positions, they pretty much told me you can make what you want out of this job. You can do as much or as little as you want. It's all kind of fluid, and that really works for me as a creative person, to have that variety and to have that freedom. So I really lucked out, and it really works for me at this point in time in my life. So about storytelling, my boss John, in his master's program, he took a lot of communications classes with this guy named Park Howell, and he has his own business marketing agency. He also has a really good podcast. It's called Business of Story, where he talks to people who not only are business marketers, but also people who work like in Hollywood and screenwriting and stuff like that, and they talk about story, which is interesting. And side note, this guy Park Howell, he's also friends with Dory Morales, who's the publisher of Green Living magazine. So another little connection there. Green Living is like an awesome place. Anyway, so in his classes, he talked a lot about storytelling in business, and that's what convinced John to hire a storyteller, which is me. And he did not invent the concept of business storytelling. I think a lot of marketers are latching onto this term to sort of humanize marketing, make it more I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just relatable, so people just to humanize it a little bit. And the guy, human brains are wired to be addicted to stories, right? We're addicted to stories. We watch so much television, we read so many books. And that's how we make sense of the world, and it's the best mode of information transportation. If you want someone to remember something, you tell it in story format, right? If you want somebody to if you want something to resonate emotionally, you got to tell it in a story format. And so this guy Park Howell, in his business, he piggybacks on Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey stuff, the monomyth, because all stories are basically just reiterations of that, right? So it's, the hero is in his or her own hometown, has a yearning, has a longing for something. Something happens that shatters the status quo and that launches the hero on a journey. The hero meets a mentor who helps him or her along the way. There's a series of trials the hero has to overcome, and wins the final fight in the climax, and then returns home having gained something, and then things are different than they were before, right? And that's the stuff that you are probably learning if you're a creative writing major and you're writing stories, right? It's that kind of theory. So the idea is to turn business marketing into telling a hero's journey, preferably like the customer is the hero, and you're tapping into a customer's yearning and their need, and the company is the person who's the mentor, who's assisting the customer in getting what they want, right? And that transfers into dollars and cents for the company. That's the marketing piece, right? There's more interesting stuff too. Like Park does this thing with his clients where he figures out if the company, what the company's character archetype is, like the Carl Jung sort of archetypes. He says like Microsoft is the king, for example. They're just kind of like a badass, you can take it or leave it kind of. That's their persona in their marketing, right? And Apple is more of like the magician who kind of takes you in and dazzles you with stuff, you know what I mean? I'm not an expert here. I'm still figuring out how to make an Instagram post a story, and still trying to figure out how I can turn stories into dollars and cents. I know that Park guy he's doing a workshop later this month that I'm going to, and I think I should learn a lot. But the moral of this story is that marketing needs writers who have these kind of storytelling instincts. So the things that you're learning in your English classes, in your creative writing classes, that's what people are looking for, and that's what people need. As far as skills go, total disclosure, I don't consider myself a skilled person. Like, I just happened to luck out kind of with my positions, and I landed jobs that are giving me a lot of space to develop skills. But I will tell you the skills that I wish I had, and the ones that I'm trying to develop now to help me in what I'm doing now. There's a lot of hats you can wear in marketing, and maybe you'll end up working at an ad agency that has departments for all these little things, and you can just be in your writer-editor bubble, but you might end up being a one-woman show like I am, and the more hats you can wear, the more versatile you will be. And even if you don't end up doing some of these things heavily in your position, having an understanding of them will help you in your overall content creating strategy, I think. Okay, photography for one, because a lot of content is images, a lot of it. I have a DSLR camera, and I'm starting to experiment a lot more with that. I'm taking a lot of food pictures because we're an iced tea company and we're in food service, so I'm going to a lot of restaurants that carry us, and I'm taking food photos with the tea, and I'm posting them on our social media, and that's been cool to do. So it's, even if you don't have a nice camera, just start where you are and use what you have. Like, I know one of the last issues of Bon Appetit magazine, they shot entirely on an iPhone. Like, you can take really, really nice pictures on iPhones. It's just a matter of having a nice editing app that you can play around with composition, play around with the levels on the photos, and make stuff that looks pretty, right? And identify the people that you follow on your own social media that create really, really beautiful images, and start to deconstruct in your brain why that works and why that like elicits an emotional response from you. Video editing is another thing that I want to try that I have no idea how to do. Might do that later. Graphic design also goes a lot with photography. Sometimes you just need to, if you're a social media manager, sometimes you just need to do something as simple as put like the word giveaway over a cute photo. And I'm working on getting those skills and getting those programs in Adobe. But in the meantime, I've been playing a lot with this site called Canva, which is a lot of canva.com, C-A-N-V-A, and it's sort of graphic design for dummies. And I've used it a lot. I've used it a lot, and it's been really helpful. And Adobe Creative Cloud, I guess, is my next step. HTML and CSS is really, really helpful. I know that there are a lot of email marketing services like MailChimp that kind of make things easy, but it's a good idea to have a handle on the basics, and it helps in my blog post too. And who knows, you might really, really like it like Erin does, and you might get to be a pro. And like I said, I got my experience with HTML doing email blasts and newsletters for Green Living. The last thing I would say is analytics. This is probably like my weakest link. I didn't think I was going to have to analyze this kind of data, but I've got to report back in my job, right, how things are going. So I'm going to take a lynda.com course for Google Analytics. I have been trained a little bit by our ad agency, and so I know a little bit, enough to give some information, but I'd like to delve deeper in that, because you have to know how to use, how to create URLs with tracking tags and get that information back to see, and it's helpful to you as a writer to see what is working well on social media, what's getting a good response and what isn't. That is all I have to say.
Okay. So much. And we're in right now. So can you mute? Thanks. Okay, we're at about noon right now, so I think I'll stop us there, although I have all of these amazing notes, not only for things to tell my students when they're looking for jobs and also writing resumes, but I also have some ideas for projects that I can change in my training course. So this has been really, really helpful, and I can't thank you enough for joining with me for this seminar. So, and all of you are busy, I know, and you got to go. So thank you so much for joining me, and keep in touch.
Bye. Thanks, Trish.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.